Hi, is this a question and answer class, or are we doing anything today?
No, we're actually doing presentations today, but if you have a question, maybe we can cover it afterwards.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. I just have one person sitting in the waiting room that I don't recognize, so I'm just trying to figure that out. Give me 1 second and then we'll get started. I think Okay, well, while we're sorting that out, let's go ahead and get started. So we have 4 presentations for today, and it looks like all 4 of our presenters are here. So if they're ready, we'll turn it over to them in just a moment. So really, as the audience, all you have to do is kind of sit back, listen, and you know, clap afterwards using the little clap icon if you'd like. That's pretty much it. We'll have an attendance code a little bit later in class. So I'll get that to you. And let's see, the order I have in terms of how people signed up, and I was just going to use this for lack of anything else, was Brandon first, followed by Sierra, followed by Jermaine, followed by Jacqueline. Okay. So assuming that's okay with everyone, if it's not, and you want to switch with someone else real quick, chat up. Otherwise, oh, okay, here she comes. Perfect. So in either case, well, like I was just saying, just in case someone missed it, what we're doing is going with Brandon, followed by Sierra, followed by Jermaine, followed by Jacqueline. Okay. So I am going to turn it over at this time to Brandon. If you have any questions, please feel free to chat them in, and I'll do my best to respond to you. I did mention in terms of the attendance quiz that we will be doing that a little bit later on in the class. Okay, so yes, there's an attendance quiz, but we haven't gotten to that yet. Okay, so I might do it near the end actually, but not right now. Okay, so I do not have my screen shared, which means Brandon, if you're ready, you are welcome to take over and share your screen at any time. Okay. So we have a little bit of a schedule thing. I have to figure this out. Never mind. We won't be starting with Brandon.
I'm okay with starting.
You're okay with starting? Let's start with you then, Sierra. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm just trying to share my screen, sorry.
Yep, no, take your time.
Okay, let me know if you can see that.
I can.
Okay, perfect. Am I okay to start?
Absolutely, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So as you can see, I did the effective workload on, oh, I need to turn my camera on, of course, I'm so stupid. Sorry. Share it again. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay. As you can see, I did the effective workload on suicidal ideation in college students. The importance of my topic is recently it's been getting worse every year. So suicidal ideation in college students in America has been becoming more of an issue. So people, mental health professionals in colleges and out of colleges have been pushing for more of an attention on this type of thing, this type of service in colleges. So there's also been past research done on emotional stress having a heavy effect on suicidal thinking. So feelings of stress and distress affecting suicidal ideation, as well as perceived stress and academic workload having a positive correlation. So I thought, why not take it one step further and specifically look into the exact correlation between academic workload and suicidal ideation. So there has also been past research done on feelings of hopelessness, distress. So I thought, why not look at the workload and suicidal ideation again? This addresses a huge gap in the research, as there hasn't been any research done on specifically workload and suicidal ideation. My research hypothesis is that college students with higher workloads will have higher reported levels of suicidal ideation compared to students with lighter workloads. As far as my participants go, I would have sent a link out to random colleges in a 50-mile radius of Westchester University, and it reached 70 participants, and they clicked on a link of an online questionnaire, and that was available on their university website, and random students from all those universities from a 50-mile radius took that questionnaire. So mine might be a little different because I didn't pick my independent variable groups. I didn't know who was going to be in my independent variable groups upon sending out the questionnaires. So what I did with my data was I did a thing called the median split. So it's exactly 50% and 50% of the participants would be on the light workload side and the heavy workload side. So I had to know their numbers and their data and the hours of workload that they responded back to get that type of information back. So for my materials, like I've already said, I had a questionnaire which asked about a few demographic questions, such as the current college that they're in, their what gender they identify as, their age, and then of course workload and suicidal ideation. And my measures for my independent variables. So my independent variable workload, the measure for that was the amount of scheduled class hours per week, and then as well as their self-reported amount of study hours per week, including library work, work in school, and a laboratory, and at home. And the measure for my suicidal ideation was the suicidal ideation scale, which actually is 10 questions speaking on suicidal behavior, and the participants were asked to rate from 1, meaning like never or none of the time, to 5, which is always or all of the time, and it's a Likert style scale. So 10 could be the lowest amount of points that you could get if you answer all those questions, and 50 could be the highest points and score you could get if you answer all those questions. As far as the design of my study goes, this is a between groups correlational study. We're looking at differences amongst the groups. We weren't looking inside the groups. So it's a correlational study looking into the relationship between the academic workload and suicidal ideation. And the independent variable had 2 parts, light and heavy workload, and the suicidal ideation was measured by the scale. So as far as my procedure goes, just to like keep it a little like tight and not talk too much about it because it's kind of complicated. So I contacted a variety of colleges within a 50-mile radius of Westchester. Those colleges were requested to post the link to my questionnaire on their university page. And of course, those students were all given a letter of informed consent to participate in the study. And they were asked to answer demographic questions and questions on workload and fill out the suicidal ideation scale, which I already said scores can range from 10 to 50. And then when the results were collected, I analyzed the data by performing a t-test for independent samples. So the results as far as my data went, for people that identified as female in my study, 48.6% of the participants were identifying as female, and there was 34 participants. And for people that identified as male, it's 51.4% of participants did that, and it was 36 participants. And the age for my participants ranged from 18 to 25, and the mean was about 21.97 years of age. And as far as my independent variable goes, like I said, I did a median split. So exactly 50% had a light workload and 50% had a heavy workload, both having 35 participants per side. And for my suicidal ideation scores, they range from a 38 out of 50 to a 46 out of 50 with a mean of 41.5. So the results were that the heavy workload students did indeed have higher suicidal ideation scale scores, and then I provided the mean, which was of 42 points, than the light workload students. The reason why I chose this topic and the importance of these results is it is a growing issue, as I've already said, and it really is highlighting, these results are even further highlighting the importance of having those mental health services in colleges, pushing to have those, making sure that everyone knows that they can easily go and talk to someone and have a counselor and have some type of assistance with those issues. So that's really important to me. Mental health is important to me, so I really wanted to do this topic, and I think that colleges should all have that type of service to have. And so all students know that they have that option to reach out. And a strength of my study, a big strength of my study was the measurement validity. So workload is shown in Kasur's study done by perceived stress, academic workloads, and coping strategies done in 2010, and that's shown as a valid measure. And the suicidal ideation scale is a very common scale that is used in many different studies to measure suicidal ideation. It's found to be a really useful measure, and it was originated in Rudd's study of 1989. So it's used in a lot of studies. I found it through other studies, and then I reached back to Rudd's study in 1989, and it's very it's very valid as far as the measurement for suicidal ideation goes, which can be quite difficult to find a measure. So I didn't make any of these measures by myself. I made sure that I looked up valid studies from other research studies before. And a limitation of my study, something I might change for the next time, is the radius of my population. So I only reached out to colleges in a 50-mile radius of Westchester. And next time, if I do this study, I'd maybe want to make it so that it can be more generalizable amongst the regular college student population. And I can't really say that right now because it's only 50 miles in radius. And maybe if I do more of a mile radius next time, maybe send it to universities all around the country, then maybe I can more generalize that to the general college student population instead of just in this area. As well as if I were to do another study, I'd be more detailed in my workload. So maybe next time, if I do a similar study related to this, workload and suicidal ideation, I could put my workload into just, instead of one number being the workload, have maybe how much time do you spend in class time during the week? How much time do you spend on homework during the week? And then maybe see if that actually, the type of workload specifically has an effect on the type of scores as far as the suicidal ideation scale goes. I think that would be a really interesting study to do closely related to this one. Instead of just having one big number for workload per week, have different types of workload and see if those change in suicidal ideation scale score. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you very much. That was really nice. I really enjoyed hearing about that. So I'm going to start off with one question, and I'll see if there's any others. But I may have missed it, but tell me a little bit about how you perceive the design of your study.
I said it was like as far as like the exact design, I said it was a between groups correlational study. So it's looking at the difference between the light workload and the heavy workload. We're not looking within the groups. We're looking like between and finding those differences amongst the groups instead of inside of them, looking at that.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just a correlational study. So it's just looking at the general relationship between workload and suicidal ideation.
Yeah, I think that's right. And that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I think also, if you, I mean, not for now, but you could even delve deeper and look at the types of studies we talked about in that one chapter on experimental design And if you did, you'd probably see that you have a post-test only design with non-equivalent groups.
Yeah.
Because of the way you did it, right? Because you weren't able to choose who would be the high workload and the low workload.
Yeah, I picked them after. So
Right,
yeah, it's definitely a
exactly.
post-test style design.
Right. So, but very nice. Thank you again. And let's now check in with Jermaine and see if you are ready. Are you still here? Yes. Okay, great.
Okay, you guys can hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Give me 1 second. How do I present this? Hold on. I'm looking to go into present mode, sorry. I don't really have to.
If you just go to where you just were, the slideshow,
Yeah.
and then go from beginning, it should start off.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so for my study, I wanted to see how, sleep and its effects on children's performance and behavior. Some background information. I was very interested on how sleep affects, us and our behavior and our academic performance. Obviously, it plays a big part of our lives. A gap that I thought that was a gap in the study was that previous research previously focused on the amount of sleep a child gets every night and how it affects their academic performance. The goal of the study was to also observe the children's behaviors in the classroom when they aren't getting enough sleep versus when they are, and also how how sleep would impact their performance. My hypothesis was that children who sleep at least 8 hours a night will perform better in the school and be better behaved than children who don't get 8 hours of sleep. So my participants, there was 99 total, 28 from Beverly Hills Middle School, 32 from Drexel Hill Middle School, and 39 from Haverford Middle School. In group 1, there was 53 participants. In group 2, there was 46. The gender, it was about 50.5% were female, 49.5% were males. The age ranged from 11 to 14 years old, with the average age of 12.5, mean 12.5. We compensated our participants. We used Jolly Rangers. We also sent home a consent form for the students, for the participants' parents to sign in order so they can participate in the study. Materials and design. They were asked to fill out a brief questionnaire. We asked them basic demographic questions such as age, where they lived, if they had any pre-existing conditions that would prevent them from participating in the study that would also skew our results. We also used the Student Information and Behavioral Observation by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Education and Public Welfare and Health. We also used the Classroom Behavior Observation Form by the Riverside Publishing Company, trademarked in 2008. And we also used the Between Participants design, because we wanted the participants to be exposed to different levels of the independent variable. The independent variable was behavior and grades. The dependent variable was behavior and grades, and independent variable was distractions. So the procedure, basically, we had like 3 classrooms. Drexel Hill Middle School was able to give us 3 classrooms to use. Classroom 255, 256, and 257. One classroom, which was the first classroom, 255, we basically set up, we had like video games, TVs, beds and stuff like that. Second classroom, 256, we had like just beds set up. The third classroom was like a surveillance room, so we can watch the students and make sure the participants and see what they're doing, make sure they're following the rules that we give them. We also, the study started out, we first brought everybody into a conference room. We briefed them all on what the study's about, what's gonna happen. We then did random assignment. We lined up everybody in the 3 groups, basically, not 3 groups, 3 lines. We asked them to choose a number between 1 and 2. And we told the 2s to go, we told them, remember their number, 2s go to one side of the room, 1 goes to the other side of the room. Then we asked the 2s to step out of the room while we gave group 1 the instructions. Group 1 was without distractions. So they weren't allowed to have their phones. They had to go to bed by 9 p.m. They couldn't talk amongst each other. They just had to go in and go straight to sleep. Group 2, they were able to play like video games, talk amongst each other, keep their phones. They had internet access, things of that nature. And basically, so we let them sleep through the night, and then they woke up in the morning at 7 a.m. and we allowed them to be picked up by their parents so they could attend their class. During class, we observed them using the 2 measures that I had mentioned earlier. We had at least 1 researcher in each room to follow around the students to see how they were performing and how they were doing in class. So the results among the participants, 53.5 were without distractions, N equals 53. 46.5 were with distractions. The participants' grades ranged from a minimum of 57 all the way up to a maximum grade of 100 with a mean of 77.40 and a standard deviation of 9.417. The children who got at least 8 hours of sleep and didn't have any distractions had better grades with an average grade of 80% and a standard deviation of 7.9. And then the children who didn't get 8 hours of sleep and had distractions had an average grade of 73 with a standard deviation of 1.98. So it was a t-value of 3.594 and a p-value of 0.58. The importance, we really wanted to see how sleep impacts grades and behaviors. I mean, obviously sleep is, we spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping, so it's very important. So the strengths I believe that was in my study was that the measures that I used to observe the participants. Limitations, I could have probably had a larger sample size. And do you guys have any questions?
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I enjoyed hearing about looking at children, which actually most people didn't do. So that was kind of cool, and I like your Jolly Ranchers idea for compensation. So I did have one question for you though. I was curious. Now you predicted specifically, I think, that those who had the distractions would do worse academically. Is that right?
Yes, because they didn't get as much sleep, and obviously, distractions leads to, if you're up all night, you're on social media or you're playing video games, obviously you're not going to be getting enough sleep. Obviously, when you're at school, you're probably going to be thinking about, what's going on besides schoolwork, so you're going to be distracted.
Right. So what I'm curious about then is, or something to think about for your final is, if your p-value came out in SPSS as 0.058, you get to actually divide that by 2 because you had a specific one-tailed test. So that might turn your results from non-significant suddenly to significant, and that's where that comes in kind of handy. So I don't know which way you were thinking right now, but that's something to think about, right? So it's something you might, if you haven't done it already, if you haven't already divided by 2, you can, and then you'll get significant findings, which is very exciting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah, well, thank you so much. Again, very nice presentation. And if you can stop sharing your screen whenever you get a chance, perfect, thank you. And then whenever you're ready, Jacqueline, I think it's your turn.
Okay, I'm using Keynote, so I'm not so used to the format here. But okay, so I did a hypothetical study on lucid dreaming and how it can be treatment for nightmares that are associated with PTSD. I kind of chose this study because I think it really hones in on specific symptoms of PTSD. And I think that it's important because I think to get to the whole, you have to think about the little things that are affecting like the symptoms of the whole. And then I found my hypothesis to be that lucid dreaming would help treat nightmares associated with PTSD, and it would demonstrate a positive impact on the other symptoms as well if it can help the nightmares. It can be, it's been a therapeutic asset before, but there is a gap in the research because usually lucid dreaming is it can help self-reflection and like constructive management, but there hasn't been as much documentation regarding lucid dreaming as an active resort to coping with PTSD nightmares. And other sleep-based interventions have shown significant results in the sleep impairments and other symptoms, according to a study that I'm referencing in my paper. Okay, so let's go to methods. So this study has 72 participants. I chose them from 3 outpatient veteran clinics. One clinic is Coatesville, one is James E. Van Zant in Altoona, and another is Philadelphia. And all of these are real, so I kind of wanted to make it, as real as possible without actually, with it also being hypothetical. So there were 24 patients from Coatesville, 24 patients from James E. Van Zant, and 24 patients from Philadelphia. There's a total of 54 males and 18 females. And each of them were assigned a random number by a random selection. So to kind of keep the geographical component, if I don't want to skew the results, like if there was geographical different variables that could affect this study. So the materials, I used 2 questionnaires. One was that one that I found online that's already been used. It's called a Trauma Screening Questionnaire, or TSQ, by Bruin in 2002. And there's also going to be some educational supplements that sleep experts will be giving to the participants. And there's also going to be one self-assessment that they're going to report on how they feel that their nightmares have been affected. The design is an experimental study because it's kind of they're in the comfort of their own home and it's more self-regulated. And the odd-numbered participants receive nightly meditation coaching and twice weekly educational videos regarding lucid dreaming by the sleep experts. And the number of nightmares per week is what will be measured, and that is the dependent variable. So the procedures, the 72 participants were initially screened to make sure that the nightmares were a symptom in the first place. Otherwise, the study wouldn't really be valid at all. The study duration is 6 weeks long, with questionnaires to be filled out at the end, and there's also the initial one. So there's one initially and one at the end to kind of see, how they've really changed, and how the self-report is more so how they feel things have changed for them. And yes, so let's go to results. So the nightmares, there's a range of 1 to 7 per period of time for the study. The mean is 3.24 across the board for each, for all 72 participants, with a standard deviation of 1.67. The age range of every participant is 25 to 48. The mean of that is 36.46, and the standard deviation is 7.14. As I said, there's 18 females, so that makes 25% female, and 54 males, so that's 75% male. As you can see on the group statistics, there's 2 treatment types. One is extensive and 2 is less extensive. So with the information, with the data provided, since the number of nightmares is less for the extensive treatment, I would say that there is, across the board, there are less nightmares when they receive more extensive treatment. And let's see here. So the even numbered participants. So as I said earlier, the participants were assigned random numbers. So the even numbered participants received the less extensive education and training throughout the 6 weeks, while the odd numbered participants got nightly meditation coaching and more extensive sleep and education. Okay, so kind of what I thought of the importance of my study was just that it affects a lot of people. It affects 8 million Americans in a given year. And I really think targeting specific symptoms to PTSD really, it's kind of something that not a lot of, I haven't seen a lot of studies, I'm not an expert or anything, but I haven't seen a lot of studies that hone in on specific symptoms to PTSD. It's more so how to treat it as a whole. And I just think it's important to kind of fill in the gap of that bit of information to see if there's little things or, you know, things on a smaller scale that can help people with their symptoms of PTSD, and try to get to a solution. Okay, thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Well, thank you. That was really cool. I always am interested in learning more about PTSD. So I appreciated your take on it with lucid dreaming. That's one I hadn't really heard a lot about in the past. One question for you. What was your take on your results for this particular study?
Well, the results, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't had a ton of time to interpret them, but I thought that with the extensive versus the non-extensive treatment, I kind of noticed that the means were a little different, because I saw that the N for the extensive treatment was 10 and the N for the non-extensive was 18, but the mean was higher for the extensive. So that's something that I noticed. I didn't want to interpret that and be wrong. So I just was kind of going to go into more detail about that in my paper.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Okay, very cool. Yeah, I think you have some interesting stuff going on there. Okay. So thank you all. I do want to share the attendance code with you at this point. I do want to ask if there's any other questions from anyone who wants to ask about any of the any of the topics we talked about today. I certainly invite you to chat in or chime in if you have any questions while I share that screen up. Here we go. Okay, so this is your attendance code for today. Today is November 30th. So if you would just go to D2L and plug in the 2049, that will be your attendance code for today. If after you do that, we are done for today. So if those who presented want any additional feedback or want to chat anymore, please feel free to hang back. Or if you have a question, please feel free to hang back. Other than that, I wish you a great day and I'll see you back on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Is that everybody? Okay, so there's just a few of us left. So if you have any questions you wanted to ask, or if you want to talk about anything, I'm happy to do that with you. I'm going to so feel free to chat in a question or just ask a question if that's something you'd like to do. I'm happy to go over anything. Jermaine, I see you're here. I know you presented today. Is there something you wanted to follow up on?
Sorry. You said that I had to divide the hold on, I'm trying to pull it up.
Oh, the p-value, the 0.058.
Yeah.
Just take that and divide by 2. So I can't quite do that in my head, but but with a calculator, I'm sure you can. And then I do know it's going to get you below 0.05 clearly. And so I think it's like 0.028 if I had to guess. So that's going to be significant. So you did find a significance with your groups.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
I just wanted to know if you could tell me when my presentation date was. I haven't finished writing up my project yet.
Okay. So your
I
presentation
just wanted to
date.
make sure that I was aware of how much time I had left so that I can get it
Right.
done.
Okay. Yeah, so it's on D2L. So I'm just gonna switch my screen here so I can go to it. Give me 1 second here. And I'm just going to under content. It's under content, by the way, and it's under oral presentation, and there's a finalized schedule there, and I'm opening it now, and I'll tell you in 1 second.
Okay.
And remember, you just have to have your presentation done for that date. You don't have to have the paper done for that date. Everyone's papers due later. So your presentation date is actually this Wednesday, December 2nd.
Tomorrow. Oh, snap. Okay. I did not know.
Okay.
Thank you for telling me. I did not know.
No, that's
Okay.
fine. That's fine. That's yeah, that was the date that you landed on. So yes, that's you. So yeah, you're 4th up. So you're not the first one to go. But that is your date. So yeah, so if you're running into any snags or you want to talk through anything about it, you're more than welcome to do that with me. I have a little bit of time now, and then I have time on Wednesday during my office hours.
Okay. If I do need any help, I will shoot you an email. Thank
Sounds
you
good.
for
Okay.
telling me I'm presenting
Of course.
today.
No
You have a nice
problem.
day.
Okay, you too. All right, bye.